Alright, here we go. Another tell-all. This one's a little more tell-all. I realized that I haven't been telling my whole story about my journey to better health. So I wanted to give a more clear picture. Because I think that our health crisis is a lot more than just we have a high rate of obesity and diabetes and heart disease. I think it starts much younger than that and is a lot more of a mental trial. It starts up here than we admit or recognize, maybe. So when my battle with my weight began in elementary school, and I distinctly remember 6th grade being intimidated by the other girls in my class because I felt like I was overweight compared to them. 6th grade. And I could confirm that I was overweight because I was unhealthy, and I knew I was unhealthy because I could not run without being winded, without it burning my lungs. I never talked to my parents about it because I knew why I was like that. I was unhealthy because I was overweight. So it didn't ever occur to me to say, hey, I have a problem breathing when I run. So instead I just would constantly push myself to run and try to breathe. I can remember very specifically being out on the playground in elementary school at 6th grade, and PE class, our teacher telling us to run around the outside perimeter of the playground. And I can remember it being painful. I can remember not being able to keep up with everyone. And I very, very vividly remember thinking to myself, why am I so fat? Why am I so unhealthy? And that started in 6th grade. Now, fast forward, that continued, the same attitude, the same behavior, the same feelings. Always felt inferior, always felt like I was overweight. I was always afraid that people were making fun of my weight. And I kind of overcame that a little bit in junior high, but I finally, after a lot of time, confided in my mom, or shared with my mom, or she discovered, I don't know. I don't really remember how it came, but I was tested for asthma. And I think it's actually because my allergies started getting really bad in junior high. And so I actually started to have asthma attacks. And so then my mom knew something was happening because I had never said anything to her about not being able to breathe when I run. So I was tested, and guess what? I had allergy and exercise-induced asthma. And they gave me an inhaler for it. But honestly, all I could think was finally a reason, an excuse. I decided this is a good excuse to not have to run and to not have to let people see that I'm so unhealthy and make fun of me for being overweight. Still never occurring to me that the reality was I couldn't run because I had asthma. Not because I was fat, not because I was unhealthy, but because I had asthma. And if you look back at pictures from that young age, you'll see that I really wasn't overweight. I really wasn't unhealthy. If you look at my growth charts, I was on the right path for all of my growth. But I was so convinced that I convinced everyone around me. I always talked about weight. I always talked about how overweight I was, and always made excuses for my my heaviness. And I was a cheerleader in junior high, and I remember feeling very intimidated going out on the court sometimes because I felt like there were people in the crowd making fun of me because I was fat. I really thought that all the time. There was one time at an actual assembly that I remember some boys in the crowd making fun of me, and I actually ran off of the floor and went into the locker room and cried. And then my coach and all the girls came in, and they're like, that's terrible. So the principal actually called those boys into his office, and I had to talk to them. And all of them, basically, they apologized, but said that they weren't making fun of me, but I knew they were. I knew that that was a lie, and anyway, it wasn't until years later that I found out that one of them was actually interested in me, so that's why they were talking about me. But in my mind, I was fat. In my mind, I was not worthy of affection. In my mind, there's no way that anybody was going to be looking at me that way, and so I only saw that it was mocking. There's no way that there was any other explanation for it. I continued that mindset my entire life. And guess what happened to me? I believed myself. And I began to believe myself so much so that I became extremely unhealthy. And I have developed so many illnesses. And my health was terrible. My diet was not great, and I had a really hard time trying to figure out what I should be eating. Every time I would try to eat healthy, I felt like it didn't do anything good for me. I didn't lose weight, I just constantly gained weight. The doctors would tell me I needed to lose weight, but not give me any way to do that. And pretty much every disease and problem and issue I ever had was always, the first thing was, well, you need to lose weight. Okay, but is that why I'm sick? Or is that just I'm overweight and I have illness? But in my mind, that's all I ever focused on. And I learned that you make true what you tell yourself. You do. You have so much more control over that than we even realize. I taught a teen leadership class where I started to understand some of those principles. And then I found a doctor who was actually able to help me with some of my health issues, and who listened to me, and who treated my symptoms and not test results. And I actually started to get healthier. I started my journey in a horrible place, mentally, physically, financially. But I was ready for change. I was ready to be the best me that I could be. And I knew that Heavenly Father had placed this in my lap. I knew it. I had prayed about it. I felt compelled to take this journey, no matter what. And I did. And the physical was great. Losing weight was great. But for the first time in my life, I stopped seeing myself as a fat girl, and that was a bad thing, and that I had to talk myself into loving that fat girl. I started seeing myself as me. I'm just a person. It doesn't matter what weight I am or weight I'm not. I'm not a fat girl. I am a girl. I am a woman. I'm a powerful, strong, amazing woman. And I, for the first time in my life, actually believed myself. And guess what? I am becoming an even stronger, more powerful, more empowered woman every day. Every day I get a little bit stronger. Every day I love myself a little bit more. And every day I feel compelled to help other women and men find their voice, the voice that actually loves them. And I'm not saying you have to lose weight to do that. I'm saying you have to change this to do that. And part of the program that I found was, yes, there's a plan to help you change your diet and change your habits of health, but that's this much of the plan. This much of the plan is changing what goes in up here. There's a whole workbook about changing your mental state. I several months into the program, had a complete meltdown and just felt like a failure. But I had already lost, like, I don't know, 50 or 60 pounds, but I felt horrible. Not about my weight loss, not about what I looked like in the mirror, but about me, and just about myself. Just, I didn't love myself, and I didn't know how anybody else could, or how anybody could trust me to coach them, or I didn't believe it. And you know what brought me out of that funk? Talking to my mentors, because that's the other beauty of this program, is you have a coach who's with you every step of the way. And I called my coach, and that coach called his coach, and we all got together, and I will never forget that conversation. And Charlene Green said to me, you need gratitude. You need to write down all the things you're thankful for, and you need to share on Facebook all the things you're thankful for. And so I did it. I had a gratitude journal. I started writing on Facebook everything that I was grateful for. And I changed. I became grateful. And I had a switch in my brain. My brain finally changed, and I loved me, where I was, who I was, how I was. But guess what? I loved me so much that I wanted to continue to get healthy, because I was ready to live my best life. I was ready to be the best that I could be, and health was a big part of that for me, because I had been so unhealthy for so many years, struggled with so many different things. I had so many diagnoses of issues and diseases, and I didn't want to be that anymore. And I knew that this program was working. I knew that my health was turning around. But more importantly, I was seeing results in my mental health. I was changing. And I'm still on that journey. There are days when I have hard days. Today was one of those days. And I think that's why I decided I got to get on tonight and just tell you, I have hard days. But I love myself now. And I come through it much better for the experience. And I grow and I pass it on. I share my experience with others. And now I get to do this for a living. Are you kidding me? Pinch me. I get to help other people love themselves. I get to help other people find themselves. I help people overcome years of programming. And part of that programming is societal. We in our society train ourselves to not love ourselves and to not be okay with telling people that we love ourselves. Like, that's a faux pas. Like, don't tell anybody that you actually think you're beautiful. Don't tell anybody you actually like yourself. Well, I do. I love myself. I love who I am. I love that I can grow and change, and I can make mistakes and I can learn from them. And tomorrow I can be a better person. And the next day, I can be a worse person. But guess what? I get to wake up and change it and do it all again and make a better choice the next time. I don't have to be perfect. And I don't have to be perfect to love me. And you don't have to be perfect to love you. And you don't have to be perfect for me to love you. I find joy in the journey. And some days I don't. Some days I'm sad. Some days I'm angry. Sometimes I'm the worst mom and I feel terrible about myself. And then some days I feel like, man, I've got this down and I'm figuring it out and I feel great and life is good and I'm happy and my kids love me. But some days I don't. And that's okay. Because that's what this life is about. It's about growing and learning and loving you for who you are and where you are and what you are. So I've gotten healthy so that I can be my best self. And I hope I can help you to do the same.